Hi, my name's Andy from Space to Breathe, and in this video we're going to look at the subject of acceptance. Now, that's a complex thing because what we're talking about is accepting the emotions that we feel and experience, and that can be a really hard thing to do because you have to just come right up front to them and say, well, I feel this. And if you're struggling or you're going through some difficult things or you've experienced things that have been hard, then that can be an incredibly difficult thing to do. The psychologist Carl Rogers said the paradox is the moment we accept ourselves exactly as we are, then we can change. It's one of my favourite quotes because it means I don't have to do anything other than accept. So often we're confronted by a challenge in our life and we think, I've got to change, I've got to put something in process. We've just gone through New Year where we've thought about probably, like new health regimes or done dry January or all these different things that are hard to do, and congratulations if you've managed that, but they're hard. But what Rogers is saying is that change starts with just, I'm here. This is what I feel, and that's okay. And there's a lot of self-kindness in that, and there's a lot of just, all I can be is here. And it makes sense because we can only change from where we are, and so often we try to change from where we think we should be, or where maybe we want to project that we are. Who's been in a doctor's surgery and had questions asked like, how much alcohol do you drink? And you probably don't exactly tell the truth. And, those kind of things are totally understandable. But they lead to this thing of not accepting ourselves as we are, but maybe where we want to be or where we think we should be. And then it's hard to change from there. So the paradox is the moment I accept myself exactly as I am, then I can change. And I want to just take you through 4 ideas that enable you to have a think about acceptance. And the first one is that without grounding yourself, it's very hard to do this. We've talked about this so often. But a breathing tool or something like that enables you to settle like a snow globe that gets shaken up, allowing the glitter to settle, allows you to see yourself exactly as you are. And without that, it's really hard to do this. So when I'm wanting to think about where I am and to do almost a little bit of kind of like self-work, I'll always start by some breaths. I'll get myself comfortable, and do you want to do this with me? I'll notice all the physical aspects of my breathing. So begin to zero in on just those physical things. When we try and do this at first, everything will be in our mind. So you're just focusing on the physical movements of your breathing, your diaphragm pulling down to allow your lungs to expand, your rib cage moving up and down. Sometimes to put your fingers on your abdomen, and as you breathe in and out, they move back and forth. Just to feel the air coming in and out of your lungs. And just take some time. Just to take some time. There's a thing I use called the stop process, where you use a word and a gesture with it. My gesture is always my hands here because that's where I feel stress. My word might be calm. Calm. And then to breathe, just like I've explained, just to take some time to notice those physical movements of breathing and to take some breaths. Just to take some time. That mix of the physical with breathing, it releases oxytocin, which will make you feel calmer, more settled. But even just oxygen coming into your brain will make you think clearer. As there's more oxygen going in there, your brain is being more settled, and your fight or flight, that kind of thing which makes you to kind of like I'm under threat will be desensitized in your parasympathetic nervous system. So there's lots of things going on that enable that to be a good start. So if I want to take on a journey of acceptance, the first thing is to learn to ground yourself. Learn to settle yourself. Why don't you take a few minutes to do that now? So we trust these things, don't we? We trust that they do what they're meant to do. That when we look in a mirror, we're going to be able to see our face. We're going to be able to see what's going on in the room, to see the camera that's filming me and all those kind of things. We trust the mirror. But what would happen if this wouldn't tell the truth? And one of the things with acceptance, and the second kind of suggestion I want to make to you is that we need to learn to be able to become emotionally aware, and that does take time. So I said to you, what are you feeling right now? And that you hadn't practiced that, and that isn't something you do regularly. That's quite a hard thing to do because it's multi-layered. But also we have a whole bunch of protections that might not always allow us to see things. Our subconscious, the things that we feel that aren't in here, take time to come through. Why do I feel that? So one thing that you might have experienced is a worry being unknown or elusive. I'm feeling stressed and anxious and I don't really know why. And we'll talk about moving a worry from elusive to known. From elusive to known. And the way that we often practice that is to try and isolate what you're feeling. So imagine you have got one of those elusive worries. Almost try and pick it up. We'll use a thing called catch it, check it, and change it. So catching the worry is just, I'm going to notice it. And then by checking it, we're beginning to say, well, when did this start? Why am I feeling this way? Rather than just saying, I'm feeling stressed and that's it. That's part of acceptance, yes, but also just saying, well, what is it that I'm accepting? What is it that I feel? When did it start? Can I really try and work out anything that's associated with this worry? And what should begin to happen is you begin to notice a few things that help you to identify, well, I know part of it is this. I may not know all of it, but part of it is this. And then to really think, well, what am I worrying about? And the change it element is to begin to think, well, do I want to accept that worry? Or do I actually want to change that around? Now, I've just been talking about acceptance and I've just said, do you want to accept it? So let me explain that. Some worries come on us a little bit like a fake mirror. They want us, in a sense, the worry's coming on. But do we actually really believe that? Do we really feel that way? So imagine you've got a job interview coming up. You've applied for the job. You really want the job. And you've got an interview. And then all of a sudden you feel this anxiety building up. And you do your catch it and check it thing, and you realise it's because the interview's coming, and interviews are scary, and that's fine. We accept that that is not an easy thing to do. But quite a lot of the worry will be rooted around the idea that maybe you don't think that you're going to do very well, and you almost begin to live that, and it almost like it's already happened, that it hasn't gone well. And of course, the thing is, with an interview, it might go great, and you wanted the job. And you wanted to apply for it, and it interested you and excited you. So the change it bit to say, well, hang on, I might get it. And sometimes that almost can be more scary. So moving something from elusive to known means that we can begin to actually grapple with accepting something. We are worrying about this, but saying, well, what do I really feel about this? And it's like this mirror beginning to work properly, that we can begin to actually see what our emotions and our feelings are. So rather than seeing something that maybe we're projecting onto it, or we're thinking is based in our fears, or even in our subconscious, or our failures or our past. We're actually saying, this is what I feel about this. And allowing ourselves to begin to think about the task of, what do I want in my life? How do I want to feel? Which again can be so hard and difficult, but starts with acceptance. So a second task can go something like this. I feel an elusive worry. Let me look into it. Why is this? Anytime you feel a worry you can't identify, try and take it from elusive to known. And use, catch it, check it, and then change it. Do I want to feel that way? Does that actually betray how I really feel about that situation? Give that a try, and then maybe pause the video and then come back to it again. So we're getting into this subject of acceptance, and we're beginning to identify, firstly, we need to settle to be able to see things clearly. And then we need to be able to move things to a place from being elusive to being known, so we can talk about what we're accepting. And then that's where things become quite interesting, because when we're naming things or knowing things, then somehow they become more manageable. And that in itself might be quite difficult. I suffered from anxiety disorder for a long period of my life, and I still am aware of anxieties, and I'm managing it better now because I know techniques and tools that can help me. So I would say I've recovered from that, but it's still around. But one of the things I used to do with worries is I used to push them down. And it would be a bit like this. Here's a worry. This shirt is a worry. And I would feel a worry come up, but I would think I shouldn't be feeling that way. And maybe I've had some support, and maybe there's a few things that have gone on that, and it's making me think, oh, come on, Andy, don't let this worry get on top of you. I don't want to feel this way. So rather than moving it from elusive to known, I've moved it from elusive to shoved away. And I would literally take these worries, and inside myself and inside my brain, I would try and shove them down as much as possible and get rid of them so I didn't have to face them. And so you'd have this worry kind of pushed in. But you can see how hard that is to do that, and how much effort in a physical sense that is to do it. And that's what we often do with our worries. And you can see it's not gone in properly, it's still kind of coming out. And when we push a worry or anxiety down, however silly we think it might be, it will just come up later. And you've probably experienced that sort of situation where you've reacted to something and you've realised actually it was about something that happened a day or two before, because we've pushed things down. Acceptance gives us the opportunity to not do this, but instead to say, okay, I accept I am worrying. How can I manage it? And that's something very different. My own process of recovery, and as I say, I'm still very much something that I work with day to day, but the process involves you not squashing it down, but saying, let me find a way to manage this so it doesn't rule my life. And that's a very challenging thing to do, but it enables us to start with where we are. And that paradox is the moment I accept myself as I am, then I can change. Because when I'm shoving a worry away and I'm trying to get rid of it, or an emotion or a problem, and I'm pushing it down, all that's going to happen is that I'm pushing that into my body firstly, so I'm going to feel it in my body. It will affect us if we do that on a regular basis, but also it will come out later. I met this chap, and it made me laugh. It was a funny conversation, but it made me really take note. And he called his anxiety Carl. And so when this anxiety would wear it, he'd talk to Carl. And you can think, well, how do I feel about that? Is that kind of helpful? Is it almost like, naming something in my head, and is that a healthy thing to do? But all he was doing was giving his anxiety some sort of structure. So if he's watching TV late at night and he started to feel worried, he'd say, okay, Carl, you can sit here, but I'm not going to talk to you. And immediately a worry that's kind of over here but it just suddenly becomes named. And we started thinking about this. I chatted to a few of my team when I had this conversation, and we started talking about 3 words that we think really help: notice, name, and accept. And that's the process of what we've been talking about a little bit in this video. So firstly, I want to become aware enough, self-aware enough, emotionally aware enough to begin to notice worries. When they're there, I'm going to take note of them. I'm going to take them seriously. I'm not going to let them overwhelm me, but I'm going to notice that they're there. I'm going to name them in some way. So one of mine was travel. So here's travel anxiety right here. And I'm going to then accept that I'm feeling it. And at that point, I can then say, right, how am I going to manage this? So one of the practical tools that I began to think about was planning, that I'd have to be more planned and take risks and the unexpected out of journeys so that I would feel calmer I would know what's going to happen. There wouldn't be things that were going to blindside me, and over time this became smaller and affected me a lot less. Now, if you're somebody who does bury worries, there's no shame in that. I totally understand that. I did it myself for ages. But you will notice how that feels, how pressured that feels. And it may be that finding somebody to talk to might help. Some therapy or a counsellor or a friend. It may be writing stuff down might help. Don't do everything all at once, but try and just think about one thing. Okay, can I just think about one worry and try and deal with that? If you've gone through emotional or difficult experiences that you're burying, again, you'll feel it in your body. It will create tension. And there are groups and support groups that can enable you to find a way to bring it out slowly. Do get in touch with us at Space to Breathe, and we'd be happy to signpost you to some more support. But you'll know if you're burying because you'll feel it. You'll feel the tension all over your body. You'll know that you react maybe without prompt. You'll have little warning lights. Mine is impatience. When I'm impatient with people, it's a sign that I'm burying things and I'm carrying stress and worry, and things are not in a great place for me. And whenever I'm impatient with somebody now, I will immediately correct it. If I'm, let's say, getting a cup of coffee somewhere and I've been impatient with somebody in the coffee shop, I will immediately turn around and apologise and be thankful instead. And then I will sit down almost as soon as I can and say, right, why have I done that? What's going on? And sometimes I'll see the impatience before I know what the worry is. That's what I mean about the elusive nature sometimes of the things that we worry about. So find a way to ground, move things from elusive to known, and then practice notice, name, and accept, so we don't bury our worries in ourselves. The fourth thing I want to mention is then to find a way to recover. Anxiety takes it out of us. Wellbeing and mental health challenges are draining to us. It's hard when we're going through hard times. And often we never compensate for those things. If you ran a marathon, you take time to recover. And yet when we go through difficult times, or when we're experiencing emotions, or even if we've had a counselling session and we've talked through some tough things, we need to take time to recover. If you imagine a little bit like a jar full of water, and you're reserves are going down, being poured out, then you need to find a way to fill up again. I've taken to grabbing hold of charger plugs. It's a silly little thing that I do, but I find it very helpful. Because each time I see one of these now, I'm thinking to myself, right, how am I doing with recharging? What are the things that give me strength? Family, getting out into nature, a sport or an activity, being creative, music, whatever it might be. I need to make sure that there's time and space in my life for those things so I can recharge, rest. The basic recharges of sleep, diet and exercise. How are you doing on those? So my fourth challenge on acceptance is to find a way to recover. If you're going to accept where you are, then you need to accept that you need to find strength. And sometimes we need to draw that in from places that we know work for us. So take a little bit of time to think about those places where you gain strength, those activities you gain strength from, those people who strengthen you. And think about, how can I get more of them in my life? And if you know you're going to go through something difficult, or you know you're going through difficult things at the moment, how are you going to give yourself the time to recover? If you're a parent looking after young kids, how are you going to give yourself a little bit of recovery time? If your emotions feel all over the place, how are you going to give yourself a little bit of time to allow them to recover and settle? If you feel tired, that's your body telling you that you need to rest. How are you going to do that? It's hard and it's complicated, and again, there's no guilt attached here. But it's important for you to look after you. You are important. And so often when I sit down and talk to people who are going through difficult things and struggle to recharge, at the heart of it is a feeling that almost I don't deserve that, or that I'm not a priority, that I shouldn't give time for myself. And you can, and it's important that you do, because you matter. You matter. So take time to recharge. So there's four kind of ideas around acceptance. Firstly, that we need to learn to ground ourselves. Secondly, to move worries and things that we're dealing with, emotions, from elusive to known. Thirdly, to practice a way to not bury them. So notice, name and accept was the one that I suggested. And then the fourth idea is to learn how to recharge. And in the spirit of that, at the end of this video, just going to share now a little meditation that will have some images alongside it that can help you just to have some recharging time before you head into the rest of your day. This simple meditation is called a centering meditation, and it's taken from a number of different kind of traditions over the years. You find something to focus your attention on and center in on it each time your attention drifts. And it's a way of finding some peace, some calm. It's a way of reflecting. And it enables you to, in a sense, find an oasis within the current kind of place that you're in. Enables you to be present, but be present just focusing your attention on one thing, and it enables lots of other things that may be causing you stress to drop away. So I use this quite often when I feel anxious, and it's a way of focusing. So we'll just take a moment and then we'll begin. So just where you are, have a look around you and find something to focus your attention on. If you're not able to see anything, maybe think of a word or a phrase that helps you, like peace or calm or still. But for my meditation, I'm looking out the window and I can look at a beautiful tree with pink blossoms on it. Focus on the word or the thing that you're looking at. Make it the center of your attention. Take in its detail. If it's something that's quite large, zoom in on something. So now I'm looking at one particular branch and the way it's moving in the wind. And allow it to become the sole focus of your attention. Try and look at the colours, the shape, the feel of the thing that you're looking at. Look at its detail. If you're thinking about a word, look all the way around it. Just in 360, look at what it means, how you might say it, the different kind of ways it can speak to you. And you'll find your attention drifts. Things will distract you. Just come back to that object or word. And allow it to still you. So notice as you're looking at this that maybe you're calming a little, your breathing might be slowing, becoming a bit more settled. Just allow that to come on you. Your deadlines don't matter right now, all the other things around you, just for these few minutes, just focusing on that object and what you can see. Allow all the details to speak to you. Allow yourself to feel settled, clearly focusing on this object or this word. So we're coming to the end of this short time. This is something you can repeat if you want to. Just to conclude, think about the object you've been looking at, and does it speak to you in any way? Does the object or the word you've been thinking about, does it give you any sense of a picture or an idea or a thought that helps you? Maybe your word you've seen in a new way. And if that's the case, give it a little bit of time to sink in. I've been looking at this tree. I've pondered that it does this each year, that there's a regularity and a consistency about this tree blossoming, that the blossom is just the first stage of its life through the summer, and yet it looks so beautiful. You'd think this was it, this was what the tree did, and yet there's more. There's maybe fruit, there's leaves, there's so much more that can happen. So with what you're pondering, just give it a little bit of time to sink in. And allow yourself to have something from this meditation that you can take through the whole day. Now this kind of centering meditation is something that I use a lot when I need to just find some calm, find some relaxation for a few minutes. You can use it for that. You can use it as a daily practice to think about yourself. Or it can just be a way of settling when you feel a little bit stressed. Give it a try and maybe repeat it a few times and see if it's something that works for you.